I think we're started. Hi, my name is Des Woodworth. I'm an economic development officer with the City of San Jose. This event is a series of workshops offered by the City of San Jose to keep small businesses informed about the issues and resources that they need to thrive during this pandemic. I personally have the pleasure of leading a collaborative of about 30 plus small business assistance organizations called businessownerspace.com. And the partners offer free and low-cost services, one-on-one counseling, help with grants and loan applications, guidance on procurement, webinars, and a whole lot more. Today, Lon Jensen from Cyber Trust America, which used to be called Adaptable Security, has agreed to provide an overview of what you need to set up a safe and secure website, as well as to introduce you to affordable solutions to help you do that. She'll be joined by Pedro Garcia from the Grow with Google group. That's a tough one to get out. Grow with Google group. So they'll be able to provide a good deal of information. While she's setting herself up to share her screen, there are a couple of other things to be aware about today's webinar. We are recording this so that in the event that there are other people who weren't able to attend, they can actually go about looking at the information subsequently. Also, we encourage you to use the Q&A area at the bottom of the page so you can let me know if you have any questions, and we'll have time at the end of the presentations to go through those. We'll also use the chat function to give you links and make announcements that may be needed during the presentation. So thank you so much, Lon and Pedro, for joining us today. I know that I and the other members of the audience are looking forward to hearing more about setting up a safe website presence. Thank you. Go ahead, Lon.
Wonderful. It's so well put together succinctly. And I am a proud San Josean and just honored to have this chance to help ourselves. Really, this is because I myself have become a small business owner about 4 years ago after holding Fortune 500 company leadership roles in the Bay Area. And I see that the small businesses are the backbone of our society. And I'm just excited to be part of it and help ourselves grow. So that's in lieu of a quick intro of myself, and I'll cover a little bit more later. But for today's session about a safe online sales presence. It is quite a few months in the coming under the leadership of Des and some San Jose city's leadership. In case you have not heard, there is a BOSS, or actually Des just mentioned about BOSS partnerships. So that group has been meeting very actively since the outbreak of the pandemic. And so this presentation itself, as well as a free resource that Des also just mentioned, which will be announced at the end of this presentation, will be all shared. And it's a outcome of months of work together in that committee. So welcome. And small is beautiful. As the digital capabilities getting adopted more and more, we will all remember a time that the small businesses are the ones that keep life beautiful and interesting. So why, as a small business owner, do you care about safe online presence? So to answer this why quickly, I'll show a graph. It shows, this is data from the US Commerce Department, comparing the growth of retail sales versus e-commerce over the past 15 years or so. You can see that the growth rate has been consistently higher for e-commerce, about 10% higher in regular times And when the disaster like COVID hits, it's 20% higher growth rate for e-commerce. And as you can see, the curve itself, that's where the future is going. So why should I care? If you want to continue to run a business 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you have to start now to get in gear. And also to bring us a little real about what's happening in California itself. This is also another reason why you should care. Per a report shared out in September 2020 by nonprofit 3C, in California, most small and medium-sized enterprises, 59%, intended to increase their use of digital tools. Now, there are some concerns or aspirations small businesses wanted to have addressed, or they have current worries. Data privacy, about 1/3 of them. ROI, return on investments, almost close to 1/3, and costs, a bit more than 1/3 of the people. So those are the barriers that stand in the way of people fulfilling their desire to use digital tools more. And those are the three things that our presentation today will address, as well as the announcement of a accelerator program will address. Without further ado, let me just have a quick intro of myself and also our honored guest, Pedro here. So myself, a business person in the Bay Area for the past 15, 20 years actually. And about 4 years ago, I created a nonprofit. Like Des mentioned, initially had a focus on cybersecurity. So the business name was Adaptable Security. But the business has grown into Cyber Trust America at this point, because it covers cybersecurity, privacy, and also anything related to trust. And we know for small businesses to thrive, we need to gain the trust of our customers. And besides helping the small businesses, I also have been active in helping local governments, let's say. For example, in terms of cybersecurity, in the Bay Area, we are leading the country in regional collaboration. So there are 2 regional cybersecurity proposals that got approved, funded by the Department of Homeland Security, and I helped write both proposals. So that includes the city of San Jose, county of San Mateo, city and county of San Francisco, etc. So all of this active local governments are in it together. And at the national level, I also lead a committee. I co-founded it with a Department of Homeland Security official. And that committee helps the entire initiative of Smart Secure Cities and Communities Challenge directly under a NIST, which is a bureau under the Department of Commerce. All right, so that's just some quick overview of what I have done in the past 2-3 years. And Pedro, would you do us the honor of a brief intro, please?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this workshop today. Hello, I was had my video off for a second because it's kind of bright in the background, so I hope it doesn't. I hope everyone's good with it. So should I share my screen, Lab?
Oh, for now we are doing the intro.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, my name is Pedro Garcia. I'm the Bay Area Digital Coach for Grow with Google. It's an amazing initiative that that Google is launching, has been working on for quite some time across the U.S. to bridge the digital divide in the small business community. And so I'm really excited to be here today. I'm a Bay Area native. I'm a small business owner, and I'm just really grateful to be invited today to participate. So thank you. Yeah.
And thank you, Pedro. The brief intro here is in hopes that people know that we have the background and experience and skills to bring out valuable information next. So hope we do that trick. And now I'll go into the agenda for today. And you can see online store. I'll do a overview quickly first, and then we'll get Pedro back to focus on the data-based decisions part. And then the customer's trust side I will cover, and then eventually we'll wrap up with the announcement of the accelerator. So for the goals of our presentation today, two goals, keep it simple. One is for our small and medium-sized enterprises to learn essentials of a safe online store. And secondly, so that you can get your online safety net for $0, and along with the announcement of the accelerator. All right, let's launch into it. So anytime people talk about online store, etc., please know that it's nothing out of your reach. It's nothing fancy that is devoid of the real world experience. As a matter of fact, if you already have run physical stores, a lot of the terms and experiences are completely applicable in running online stores. So a quick overview, a name in the physical world, you need a name for your business. And in the online store, it's called a domain. That's the URL or your website's name. And so just another term for name. And then in the physical world, you have the storefront and the location. And in the digital world, you have the website. It can be your own website, or it can be a presence in a marketplace. We'll come to more of that later. Then in the physical world, you also, to make your store look appealing and attract foot traffic, you want your store to look nice. So the design needs to be nice. And in the digital world, there's a platform that you can use to design your digital store. So, simo, just a little different skills and different activities to achieve the same outcome. And then next is that in the physical world, you need realty management if it's a commercial space, right? And in the digital world, that's the hosting company. And then the letters, and you make phone calls to acquire customers in the physical world. Now, in the digital world, much more reliance on email. Although even for a physical store, people use emails already also. And then goods and decor, and then that in the online world is the online content. So there are tricks to also make your online content appealing to attract visitors. A couple of other elements are pretty much the same or applicable in both worlds. Return policy, the same. Privacy policy, also the same, although it's much more robust or important in the digital world. We'll discuss why it's so a little later. And then the on-site marketing. We all know in the physical store, you have discounts, you have flyers, for example. So the same thing can be true for your online presence. And lastly, shopping cart and payment. That's true in both worlds. Now coming to the bottom of this list, two items that are only mostly applicable to the online stores. Data-based decisions, which Pedro will help shed a lot of light on for us. And then the customer's trust. This customer's trust, although of course in the physical world, you need that as well, but it takes on a whole new set of requirements when it comes to online business. So we, for today's portions, we will focus these couple of items for today's presentation, because this couple of them will give you a very good foundation to think about your own online stores. All right, so we'll dive into the domain as a first thing. We'll start with a quick exercise. We want to be interactive. So the exercise that in the physical world, you know, you have to go through name choices to avoid duplicate names. You do registering with the city, with the IRS, etc. Now, for a online business, before you even do that, you first want to make sure your name is not taken by others yet. So I'm going to pick your brain. I know in Silicon Valley, we are so lucky to have creative minds among us. And so here, well, now it's not a surprise. I was hoping to pick people's brain that for a company that provides cybersecurity and privacy and trust-related services, what is a good name per your own? What is appealing to you? For example, one, Adaptable Security Corp, which we initially went with, and then two, Cyber Trust for America, and three, Cyber Trust America without the four, and four, something else. So if you have something else, or if you are generous, feeling generous and want to chime in on your choice preference, type in your 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat window. That would be fun for me to hear. And just so you know, for us, eventually we settled on Cyber Trust America and dropped the 4 in between. And that's because this gives us a good foundation to even go international. And the 4 would limit that ambition. So this is our board of directors feedback. So next, it's some tips to consider when you are brainstorming about your names, especially if you don't have only a physical store name, but are contemplating on a suitable name for your website. Easy to relate to tips, I think. Easy to say, you don't want it too difficult, easy to remember, and then shows the core business, and then invokes good feelings. That's always more pleasant than something that's dreary. And lastly, if you have good ideas, but the good ideas are too hard to condense into something short, you know that you have the option of using tagline to summarize the value so that it can make the name choosing slightly less challenging if you remember to use the tagline. All right, with those out of the way, I want to just demo quickly the website that you can use to check on availability. So I'm going to this site right here, and let me see if I can, I'm in presentation mode, so I cannot copy and paste the link URL into the chat window. Maybe afterwards I will do that. Let me go again. So what you do is to put the name in here. For example, the business, the boss for the group that that Des has been running. Let's see if that is available, say boss.com. Nope, so unfortunately it's not available. How about .org? Since it's run by the government, darn, it's taken also. So basically, you continue on using this tool. Eventually, hopefully you will get to your dream name. Anyone has a name you wanted me to try? I'm not seeing the chat now, so I'm going to move on ahead. So on the next one is about choices. So now let's assume that you have a perfect dream name for your online presence. So now you face a choice. Where do you put it? Do you set up your own website, or do you utilize an existing marketplace? What do we mean by marketplace? Some well-known marketplaces include Amazon or eBay or Etsy, Bonanza, etc. So those are the marketplaces that you can apply to have your own store. Just like in the physical world, it's a mall. It's already there. And then you just apply to get one store inside. So among the three choices, the last one, multi-channel, means that you have your independent website, but you also want to leverage and check out how the marketplaces work for you. So you can apply for a spot there, and then you run both. Then that I call it multi-channel. So it's a combo of both. So with this three as your options, what is the most suitable for your business? So next, I'm going to run for a general situations as a comparison. And as I do that from 4 dimensions, market trends, because you don't want to go against the trends. And from the customer base perspective, profitability, ultimately, you want to be able to generate revenue and ease of use. And then lastly, customers' trust. So from these 4 dimensions, let's see which pros and cons exist for each choice here. And as we do that, please, you can bear it in, do the thinking in your head or jot something down for your own business. So I've done the homework. So I'm displaying all of this all at once. The market trends. For now, these 3 market trends have been socialized. And it's per a research organization, Statista. They have found that number 1, online store, that's a trend. There's no ambiguity about it. So everything's going digital, as the previous Department of Commerce graphic also showed. The second trend is that marketplaces are a thing to stay, and they are growing. You don't even need me to provide a proof or evidence. Everyone knows. So during the COVID pandemic, the digital behemoths have grown even larger. Like the stores with digital platforms, they have grown their business significantly, while physical stores have suffered. The third trend is mobile. That everyone now is on the go. So cell phones and iPads are the future. So you always, whatever you consider doing in the future, you wanted to keep these 3 trends in your mind. So let's see how they rated against this. Only for your own independent website, you probably can, you have the blessing of the online store going in trend. And you also can have the mobile functionalities robustly built in, but the marketplace is not in your favor, right? So consider that. And for the customer base side, marketplace and multi-channel both are great choices. For independent stores, one thing, this probably should be a half mark because it is true only for the high context businesses. What are high context businesses? For example, luxury goods like jewelry stores. It requires a lot of intimate consultation, and those businesses typically they have established customer base, so they have a much higher loyalty among their customers. They can just go have their independent stores easy, and they don't have to do a lot of advertisement to bring people onto their site. But for a newer business, when you first start out, you may need to spend significant amount of advertisement to attract traffic to your site. So that's why it's a half mark for the other kind of businesses. And for profitability and ease of use, the marketplace also wins out, and independent store can achieve it, but you may need a professional assistance. And for multi-channel, it's the same thing because you have the independent store as part of your strategy here. Now for customers' trust, the same thing. For your own online store, independent store, with professional assistance, you can achieve it all. But that's just it. And that, to a large degree, is what also is holding back our small business communities. So fret not, we are going to share the information that can help bridge that gap to allow you to take the first steps into a growing online store for your business. So the next couple of slides are the proof or the data points that supported the earlier results that you saw. So for example, the customer base by sales, you can see graphically, visually, those big businesses. And let's see where eBay is number 3. And a couple of other marketplaces are not quite listed here, but you can see that a lot of larger businesses like Best Buy, that's it because it has a name already recognition, so they can have their own store. Now, customer base by count of the unique visitors. And over here, this green graph or bar indicates the scale. So Instagram, Facebook commands the highest by far. YouTube, by the way, is not listed here because YouTube itself is not quite a selling marketplace. You can use it for marketing and other awareness, but it's not a marketplace per se. I'm going to move on to the next slide shortly, because this data points later on, Des and team will share out, so you can refer back to it. One important aspect, of course, is the profitability and ease of use. And this is where you'll see more marketplaces that their business model is to provide marketplace to other businesses. So interestingly, eBay comes out ahead as an overall winner on this, as well as a number 1 for profitability. The second is a bonanza. And then for some businesses that are known for their creative products offerings, Etsy is a good one, etc. So this, again, more analysis of why such rating is given. There's a link that you can read up. And this is rated by small businesses like you and me. The last dimension that we say online stores need to consider for marketplaces, also why they are a bit easier and more appealing than independent stores, is because they are big and they have this couple of advantages. Low price from economy of scale, think of Amazon, and transparent quality. So people who shop on Amazon probably feel that Amazon has some insurance in terms of the quality requirements for their vendors and ease of return, protection of data privacy. So it's more standard, and then protection from cybersecurity risks as well. But if you know what you're doing and you do your own online store, you can achieve all of this as well. Well, except for low price from economy of scale. So, all right. Now I hope that by now the above information has helped you think about your own strategy, whether to build your own website or try out on a marketplace or doing both. And next, I'd like to walk through a bit more about the essential elements of running your own website, so independent online store. Over here, we said realty management. So the digital world is hosting companies. So there is comparison of them. For example, Wix is a very reputable one, and I have experience in as well. But any of this may be suitable for a certain industry, a niche. So it pays to do some comparison early on before you dive too deep into it. Oh, I forgot to mention that if you're thinking of a nonprofit, in the digital world, a lot of perks or offerings are available to nonprofits for free. For example, AWS offers $2,000 credit for nonprofits. This is the annual number, and you can renew it year after year. For the second component, the design, for the platform, over here again, Wix has come out ahead as the number one, and the rating company URL is also mentioned below. I have used Wix and I do like what I see. So without going too much into the details of those, which you can read afterwards, moving along onto the goods and decor. In the online world, it's the online content. So images, videos, or music, all of this can greatly increase the engagement of your audience. Sites with videos have 38% more engagements. And of course, everyone has a cell phone, and smartphones have pretty good resolution nowadays. So you can for sure take videos or images yourself. Now, if you don't have a whole lot of time, you want to buy images, there are services for reasonable prices. A new one that I found pretty good is depositphotos.com. You can subscribe on a monthly basis to save your precious budget instead of paying a whole lot for a whole year. Now, besides those content, there are a couple of ways that's unique to engage customers online. So I've listed a few over here as food for thought. Number one, blog, especially authentic ones. And this can get you very organic following. Videos, of course, makeup, cooking, dancing in a new platform, TikTok, some that's people have made a living by broadcasting out on such platforms, YouTube as well, of course. Now, if you don't have your own well-known presence yet, how do you get your first visitors? And one trick to do is that you can comment on timely events, and that gradually will get like-minded people to notice you. And your partners are one of your biggest assets. And if they have a good following, then organically their sharing of what you are doing will drive traffic to you as well. As in the physical world, customer testimonials, always, that's a nice way for social proof. All right, so with online or physical stores, shopping cart and payment, that is a regular we all need to do. For the online world, when you go with the platform, typically they already have some shopping carts for you built into it. So it's pretty convenient to start using them. Some places also offer, even the same platform, they offer you different shopping carts for you to choose from. And so knowing what it fits your situation the best is helpful to save you money. Of course, you can also switch, so no biggie. Now, this is the portion I'd like to pause and see if Des and our audience have any questions for the information we shared so far. And if you prefer to save them until the end, then this is time I invite Pedro into our conversation before I start sharing the customer's trust content.
Good enough. How about if I raise the questions that have happened so far in the context of the URLs? One of the questions was, why not use your existing business name for the URL?
Sure. If you can, you can use that tool to search up. If it is available, by all means, use it.
Yeah, I think the one other comment I would make is that in some cases our business names are long, and many people struggle with entering long URLs. So that's something to keep in mind about using your own name. The other two questions are related to your discussion about platforms. The first one is, do you have any observations about Shopify and Selz, S-E-L-Z?
Yeah. On particulars, so Shopify is a very reputable platform. Particulars, I will want to defer because I don't like to speak about something when I don't have personal experience on it. So what I can share is just what I know from doing research. But in my team, I have other experts who have had personal experiences. So I'd rather refer to them. And if you sign up for the accelerator program we're going to announce at the end of this, then for sure you will get more information at that time.
Great. And I've also included the reference that you had to the resource that you had identified earlier in the chat box. So people can have a look at it there and see how you had gotten those original recommendations for the table you showed. The other question was, is the store branded with their mark? Presumably that means in the context of the platform. So that you've got this mixing of your business's information plus the other the providers, so that there may be some dilution of your brand. And also, can you take the site with you to another platform? So if you leave one platform and go to the other.
Oh, very insightful questions. Some you indeed can migrate, and it's well, it's not trivial, but it's definitely doable. But one thing with Wix, however, is that these their business model, so you cannot migrate a website out of Wix easily as the other platforms. So just one thing to bear in mind.
Yeah, that's a good observation. One other comment was that Sells was just purchased by Amazon, which may make it more interesting than Shopify in the future. So I think again, your offer to help people do more evaluation based on the actual experience of some of your colleagues could be useful, as well as referring to those resources for the future. That's all the questions we have at the moment. So I'm going to suggest that you hand that over to Pedro if the timing is right.
Yes, the time is great. We're doing ahead of time. So wonderful. Let me stop sharing. If I can find my button. And Pedro, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for bringing in your years of expertise to share with our fellow San Joseans.
Thank you for inviting me. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great job, Lan. You've been so insightful. And every time I talk to you, I always learn something new. So that's what I really admire about everyone here on the workshop today is whether you're a learner or a student or an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, if you're investing in yourself to learn more, that's where it all starts, right? And the learning is continuous. So the Grow with Google digital coaches program is a really cool initiative, as I mentioned to you earlier. So what we're going to cover during this part of the workshop is how to make better business decisions with analytics. And then throughout the slides, there'll be links on certain slides. So please take note of those links. You'll want to reference them. They have a ton of free content. And so Grow with Google in general helps people grow their skills, careers, businesses by offering free digital skills, training, and workshops as well, like the one you're on today. And we've partnered with organizations like Lands and the City of San Jose, as well as organizations like my company, Cafe Bank. We offered shared workspaces for small business owners. And like a lot of people, I've had to pivot during shelter in place, and we've been doing more digital marketing and helping people use numbers, right? My background is in investment banking and commercial banking. So it's definitely a numbers oriented industry. And so I've been able to leverage that skill set to actually growing businesses. In addition to my own, I also help other businesses by offering these free workshops. And that's a little bit about myself. That's my contact information. So we'll get started. And as we're doing the presentation, please feel free to share this information on social media with the hashtag Grow with Google and hashtag Digital Coaches. I love this quote here on the screen because this kind of sets the stage, right? Getting data is definitely not the problem anymore. We have lots of data. We have big data. And Google's opportunity is to take this huge amount of data and make it more manageable for people, make it manageable for yourself, to interpret it and utilize it for your business. So we need to find interconnections, patterns, themes, and build it in the context of genuinely understanding what you're trying to achieve by using that information. But the ultimate goal is to provide actionable insight that you can provide for yourself to prove or disprove a hypothesis in regards to your business or your enterprise or your organization. So what this quote really does is to serve as a reminder that getting data is definitely not the problem, right? It says that we have to use tools like Google Analytics and data on your web presence which is being collected as we speak, right? So this is Google's opportunity with analytics. So let's dive into that a little bit further. So first, let's define insights. Insights help you create more effective business solutions using strategies informed by real consumer truths. Whether you're working on a brand strategy, on a creative idea, product innovations, or media plans. The trouble is insights are notoriously hard to pin down. So ask 100 people and you'll probably get 100 different definitions of what an insight is, right? So what's clear is when businesses look into Google to help them find insights, they're not just looking for data. Insights are based on data, but are novel, credible, and actionable enough to unlock new opportunities. A great insight is unexpected, yet obvious. And an insight should inspire an action. It must be useful. So how do you find them? Well, you can find them various methods, right? But before we go further, let's define a few terms that we're going to use in today's workshop. Data is information that you obtain from users, like demographic info, behavior, activity. Analytics are patterns and trends that are discovered. Sorry, I'm just making sure that this panel's. So analytics are the patterns and trends, right? As Lan was mentioning earlier. So it's how you make sense of it all and uncover meaningful trends. So insights are the value that you gain from data and analytics. Insights should be actionable and prescriptive. In other words, you know what to do next. Here's an example. Let's assume you have an e-commerce website. Data shows you had 100 or 1,500 visitors in the past 30 days. Analytics show that 30% access your site from mobile devices. Insights reveal that visitors using mobile devices are 60% more likely to convert. It's those aha moments. So if you're new to data and analytics, the reports can be overwhelming. So let's look at ways to use data to help you make decisions instead of relying on gut instincts. And this involves using tools to see the patterns in customer usage. And before diving in, you need to identify goals so that you can ask the right questions. Today, we're going to start with the basics of using Google Analytics to better drive your business decisions. During the first part, we're going to discuss what data is and how we use those to drive our business decisions. And then we're going to go into the basics of Google Analytics, your account, how to collect data from your website, as well as how to review the questions that you'll need to ask that you should ask your data, that you should ask from yourself to better understand your customers. And we'll also help you walk through the reports that will help you answer those questions. But we'll show you how to also interpret those reports using different features like dimensions and segments and how you can make your reports even more useful by connecting the dots. And analytics with your, you can connect analytics with your other Google accounts. And I know that I said we're going to cover a lot of things. I'm going to try to cover a lot of those, but we're a little bit pressed for time because we're covering different topics today. So I invite you to tune in later as we will be having a series of workshops with Lan that dives in deep with all of these different topics. So if you set up a Google Analytics, there's a link there at the bottom of the screen there. You can set it up for your app, and the screenshots and the reports in this workshop may be a little bit different than what you see in your app, depending on the different version of your analytic accounts, depending on whether you already started it, opened it in October last year or after. So you might see different variations, but we're going to primarily focus on using data to make better business decisions and concepts that apply to both versions of the software. If you want to learn more about Google Analytics, you can share. You can log into this into your own account, and then I'm also going to provide some links a little bit later in the chat box so that you can reference it. And we're going to provide a one-pager. If we can please drop that in the chat box, Lan, or someone on the team that can help us. I emailed that over. It's just a one-pager. We don't provide the copies of the slides today, but we provide a really nice summary. So. An intro to Google Analytics. If you think about this, the goal, what is ultimately the goal, right? It's let's say, for example, if your goal is to increase online orders for your online store by 10% this month, you may want to know which traffic sources bring in the most visitors. For answers from Google Analytics, you go to g.co/analytics, which, as I mentioned, is a free tool, and it's one of our most popular websites, analytic tools available that helps people better understand customer experience, and it also has data that helps you understand your business decisions as far as I mentioned, connecting the dots. So you can look at your dashboard, and it measures the information and it tracks the customer journey on your website. So for the one thing that you want to keep in mind is if you're not measuring, you're not marketing, right? So for example, you have to understand your customers, right? Their demographics, gender, interest. Is your site meeting their expectations? You want to understand behavior on your site and actionable steps for them to take. How customers find your site and how you can drive organic traffic. How customers are being driven to your site from other sources, maybe your blog or industry sites that you might write articles for. So Google Analytics can help you understand also reach, engagement, conversion questions about your business. So how do people find my site, for example? How do customers interact with you once they find you online? What demographics visit your sites the most? What channels are driving the most traffic? So all of these different questions are going to be things that you're going to be able to have insight to once you start diving into the dashboard. So ideally, your website leads to users from one page to another, or provides useful content. And next, finally, hopefully they convert, right? So Google Analytics helps you better understand your audience and the insights that their activity gives, so that you can make more strategic decisions for your business. So there are many different types of reports that can help you better understand how people found you and then engaged with your website. So you can learn which search terms and sources are driving the most traffic. To remedy a high bounce rate, for example, maybe you can determine whether there's a misalignment between your visitors and your website's content. And I'm going to share with you my personal dashboard so that you can see some of these things, because those are questions that I've just started to ask myself, because I'm seeing like the trends come up, right? So I'll show you a real life example. So you want to examine these things in detail regarding your visitors' interaction with your site, because the data is where the gold is. So as far as looking for useful ways to segment your users, rather than designing one experience for everyone or the average user, you want to look for distinct groups that might have different wants or pain points or behaviors. You may also want to begin understanding the different characteristics of your most popular audiences. If you are building that audience, it'll help you make changes to your strategy depending on who your target audience is. So you want to understand what content your audience is most interested in. Evaluating your traffic can help you identify who is and who is not finding your page content to be useful for them. It's all about content, and it's all about being useful, right? You want to be relevant and useful for people that are visiting your site. It's long gone are the days where it's just blogging to blog, right? You want it to be meaningful, and you want it to be impactful, and you want people to find value from it. So when you're driving your different traffic to your site, or when you're trying to drive your decisions when it comes to what content you want to create, this will help you decide which things you're going to highlight on your website. So you can evaluate which channels that you want to drive, because which ones are driving the most conversions. So understanding where your traffic comes from and what drives those conversions on your website will help you make better and smarter decisions when it comes to advertising, content, design decisions. So to set up your Google Analytics account, first you would create or sign in to your account, and by going to g.co/analytics, and you can do one of the following. You can create an account or start for free. And to sign in your account, you just click on sign into analytics, and then you can set up a property in your analytics account. So as Lan was mentioning earlier, we look at this from like online realty, right? These are your intellectual property. These are your virtual property, your websites, apps, online stores. different virtual assets, right? And it's the collection point in analytics for the data from your various sites and apps. So most of you will be setting up a property for your website. It can be helpful to collaborate with a team, business partner, or perhaps even a professional marketer, the more advanced and the more deep you get into the project. So you can bring on additional collaborators to access some of your Google Analytics, either your platform or your different Google accounts. And you can also determine like how much access, what you want them to see. Like they're not going to be able to see your email. Like you can filter what you want people to see, and you can access that from the admin side and clicking on user management under the account or property sections. So here you can click on the blue link in the upper corner that you see there, and choose to add or add a user group. User groups are used to easily group users with like permissions or similar permissions. When adding new users, only those users you've granted permission to can gain access to your website data. So once your account is set up, you will have access to the reports. And keep in mind that it can take up to 24 hours for the data to start appearing in your account. Here's a quick tip. If you want to make sure that you see reports or collecting data within your site, you might you don't want to have to wait until the next day, or you can just click on the real-time report. If you will tell your team, or you can just make a reminder, anyone that's looking at your website, like for example right now, that's creating data points, right? So you can ask them to monitor this on a daily, weekly. It depends on how often you want them to track the data. And then also within the dashboard, you're going to be able to toggle between the different time frames. So you want to make sure that your pages are tagged correctly as well. When you sign into analytics, the homepage gives you a summary of what's interesting about your data. These cards will show you information like overall traffic, conversions, like users, revenue, conversion rate, sessions, these different things. And then you can click a metric to change the graph, and the number of users on your site will change depending on when you see it and then the time frame that you're seeing. So you can also see like the overall conversion rate, as I mentioned, like the different channels where you're acquiring users, site visitors by geographic location, user volume by day or by hour. You can also create custom dashboards by clicking on customizations. Dashboards are a collection of widgets that give you an overview of the reports and metrics that you care about most. And you can define widgets within the dashboard itself. A widget is like a mini report, and it can display your data in a number of different presentation styles, including simple numeric metrics, tables, charts, whatever is most like visually appealing for you, like depending on your learning style. So once you create and customize a dashboard, then you can share it with others. The awesome part is when you really start like finding the answers to your I'm going to skip these slides instead of showing you Eva and Ricky's. I'm going to show you my own. So now that you know how to set up your analytics account, let's kind of dive in a little bit deeper and see how we can learn from these new insights. I want you to think about my business, Cafe Bank. It's a coffee shop. It's a shared workspace, and we sell products mainly in the store, and then we do online orders for pickup, like for chocolate covered strawberries, and for our different locations, people can book the space for to work, to study, to have their own private events. And so I'm gonna just stop sharing my screen here, and can you see my analytics page here? If you can just drop a number 1 in the chat box, if you could.
We can see it, yes, Pedro.
Okay, awesome. So this is very simple, but so this is a Google, if you just go to Google, anyone who has a small business, you want to create a short handle, right? So that someone can easily find you. But once you kind of search your own short handle, then you can see, okay, how many people are viewing me this month? And once you click into analytics by going to g.co/analytics, this is kind of how the home tab looks like. So this tells me the last 7 days, I've had 87 new users, and they're only spending about half a minute on the site. This is that real-time quote I was mentioning to you, but it gives a little bit of information as far as okay, this is not giving me a ton of information, but let's see, let's go to engagement.
I think you're still in real time, which probably is under.
Okay. Yeah, see, this is all kind of real time. Like in the last 30 minutes, no one has been on it, right? But this gives you like the traffic over the last 21 days or so. But it gives a nice just insight as far as like when they're visiting, how many views I'm getting, different terminology that people are searching for based on the products, based upon their search terms, similar to this gives a little bit of the visitors insight, different titles, different tabs that they're clicking on. So this is all useful information that you're going to be able to use for your business or your organization. The more time, the more if you're boosting your posts, if you're doing Google AdWords, if you're using YouTube marketing, if you're using different channels to drive traffic to your different online assets, your realty, your online realty, you're going to be able to measure the different search terms and data that's going to help you make decisions, right? Like what hours should I be open? Which search term should I be bidding on? As opposed to just like guessing or gut instincts. Excuse me. So this is a great like acronym. So excuse me. So every goal, this is just like a framework. Google loves this SMART framework. It starts with excuse me, I'm sorry, I like a dry. So in context of what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to learn today, what are your specific goals? Are you looking to generate leads? Are you looking to book online appointments? Are you looking to actually convert and make sales online? Like you have an e-commerce platform. So our other business is the shared workspace component, right? So some of our marketing efforts are a little bit more direct, right? Whether it's email campaigns, telemarketing campaign, not in the traditional senses in like cold calling, but just like reaching out to our partners who have visited our site, and then we make a direct a phone call or a letter or a email to connect the dots, follow up. The goal isn't the follow up, right? So the data gives you the insight so you know where and how to follow up. And so that's really the key part. So for myself, I don't sell anything over the phone. I don't sell anything online, really. It's more getting the appointment and getting the person to visit or jump on a workshop, jump on a Google Meet, so that we can make that connection. Since we're not in a traditional environment right now. Excuse me for 1 second. I have to just step away.
Pedro's back. I was gonna interject briefly, but it looks like you've got things under control. So
how much more time do we have?
Actually, we've been handling most of the Q&A independently. So there are a couple of questions that you probably will want to specifically answer, but I think we can continue to power forward on the good information that you're providing.
Awesome. Thank you. So these 4 questions are key. So once you've defined your goals, and whether it's, as we've mentioned, e-commerce, online traffic, in-person traffic, subscribers to your blog, purchasers of your product or your service, once you define your goals, we can consider what questions we want to ask to meet those goals, right? So as I was mentioning, this framework, it asks examples of different questions to help you get the answers to your goals. So the framework that you see represents stages of the business's relationships with the customer. So first, reach the customers with methods like we mentioned, advertising, organic search, social media, offline promotions. And after they arrive, you need to engage them. Can they find what they're looking for? Then it's conversion time. The goal obviously is always to help customers. So you want to help them complete important actions on your site. So for example, they might buy a t-shirt or an espresso or a course if you're offering a course, or you want to submit a form with a question about a bulk order or to sign up for your e-letter or your newsletter. Ultimately, you want to sustain a long-term relationship. You want those customers to return. You want those readers to return. And this could be in the form of a rewards program, discounts, etc. The very hot space right now is retargeting, right? If those people are visiting or they're visiting your store or they're your site, they're interested, right? Whether they made a purchase or not, they're interested, otherwise they wouldn't have gone there. So if you've already captured their intention for those 30 seconds or what have you, then how do you retarget them to re-engage them and pique their interest again and over again, right? That's ultimately what you're trying to do with the customers, create that lifetime customer. So convert questions asked like, do visitors become customers? And then, as I mentioned, sustain is, are they loyal? Are they coming back? And we'll revisit these questions later. And you can also look at all the different resources available on online on grow.google. They have videos, quick tips that just dive in deep. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a series of workshops that dive in deeper to each topic with Lan and her team, hopefully. So let's revisit those questions we suggested that can help you better understand your data. So just to recap. So we can start with reach again. Think of reach as how many people or how are you going to reach people for them to visit your website and become your customers? Reach questions help you understand brand recognition, awareness, and how people find you online. So back to our cafe example, if the goal was to increase visitors by 10% this month, they might ask questions like, how do people find us online? Are they searching for coffee shop? Are they searching for tea shop? Are they searching for pop-up shop? Are they searching for, what's the term that they're searching for when they think about your business? And if they can't find your business, why not, right? Can they place orders with you online? Think about reach questions that you might ask yourself. Do you have the correct name, address, phone number published online on all your various online assets? Are they cohesive? Is it like a unified message across your social media, across your website, your brochure, your business card? Is everything cohesive, right? Is your message to the market a unified message? And is the website address easy to remember? And as Lan was mentioning, you can type in different variations before you actually purchase your domain, just so that you get an idea of what's available. And if you have an email newsletter, do people open it? Are they reading on it? Are they clicking through it? So different platforms, whether it's I don't know, MailChimp or Constant Contact. There's a lot of different, if you're into blogging or newsletters, but all of those have a ton of insight and data behind it, right? So the point is, whatever tools you're going to use, whether it's Google Analytics, whether it's newsletters, your website, if you're going to have these, you want to use it to the fullest capability and maximize the value for yourself and for your customers. So now let's talk about engagement and the reports that help us better answer these different questions. So engagement questions involve discovering how or if people find and interact with you and your site. So do they navigate to more than one page on your site? Do they watch your videos? Do they search for things on your site? Can they download a PDF or a one-pager like the one that we shared today? That link to that one-pager, it may ask you for to request permission, and if so, then I'll of course grant that permission after the workshop as soon as I see that message. It may or may not ask you to ask for permission, but that 1 or 2 pages is really useful. So it's just going to recap everything that we're going over, since we're kind of flying through it. But things that you want to ask yourself, like, can people easily find your products? Can they create an account and check out easily? Can they download coupons? So these are all different questions. Conversion questions and insights are around turning visitors into paying customers, right? So once people find you online, do they take the further actions to make a purchase, to sign up, schedule an appointment, etc.? So for example, of the coffee shop, like, are we selling online? Are we meeting orders? Are we how often compared to last month? Is it cyclical because we just went through Valentine's, right? So last week was probably our busiest week of the year, next to Mother's Day week. So it's always, you want to understand the seasonality, the trends, because then you're going to be able to plan properly and forecast better and more precisely. So is it easy for your customers to order online? Are the social media channels driving sales or traffic to your various online assets? Are you offering coupons, or do you have a call to action to drive sales or to increase orders? And then which channels are driving the highest ROI, right? These are all different questions that you want to ask yourself. Sustainability is really, in my opinion, this is where like the magic sauce is. This is kind of like, if you've already reached them, if you've engaged them, if you've converted your customers, the magic of business is how do you create loyal customers, a following, raving fans, right? You want to create raving fans ultimately of your customers. So sustainability is about creating loyalty and then creating that experience to keep them interacting with your brand and your company and yourself. So the questions that you want to ask yourself are geared towards understanding how customers experience your service or your product, and then what they're saying about you online. Do they like your products and services? Do they like you? Do they like how you make them feel? What do they wish that you did better? What are you doing well already? So if you have a merchandise store, if you have a brick and mortar store, you might want to ask yourself, what are people saying about you online on the various review sites? If you don't have Google My Business set up, you want to definitely get that set up that short handle, get your reviews going, because this is what people go to first nowadays, right? And so you can ask yourself, not just about like, what are they saying about you, which products you're selling best, because then which customers are shopping the most, right? Because then you can reward them with loyalty points, with rewards points. You can retarget your customers properly. So lastly, when we're using this information, when we're looking at the data, when we're looking at the reports, it's not to just look at information, right? It's like analysis paralysis, right? You don't want to just look at the data and just sift through all the reports over and over. You want to find answers that help you take measurable actions so that then you can use the data to understand the results and therefore make proper pivots and changes to improve those results. So what tools can help you better understand these questions? And this is one of the tools, right? Google Analytics. So now that we've had a chance to review our home dashboard, let's look at the different types of insights available within analytics. We know Google Analytics can seem complex and daunting. There's a million ways to mix and match segments and produce reports, but really, let's just look at the basics. How do we simplify this? Because you don't want to have analysis paralysis, right? Like, I feel like the best way to do anything is just to dive into it and do it, right? To learn it. And it's like a video game. You're gonna pass the different stages by just gaining more practice, right? So it's all about practice. It's all about just learning while you're doing it, hands-on learning. So real time. So in the dashboard, real time, it's not just real time learning, it's real time information, right? It shows the impact of marketing efforts in real time. Immediately and continuously monitor the effects of the campaigns and the site changes that you're making or the content changes that you're making. Audience reports, these help you provide insight into characteristics of your users, such as we mentioned, demographics, interests, geography, language, behavior, technology, devices. Acquisition reports provide window on your users' acquisition, behavior, conversion, ABC, right? If we take away anything today, that's what you want to, that acronym is SMART. That's our framework for our analytics. And then the ABC is acquisition, behavior, conversion cycle. So basically how you acquire users, how they behave on your site, and then what are the conversion patterns. Behavior reports tell you how your behavior varies between new and returning customers on your websites. And then the conversion is the completion of an activity that is important to the success of your business, such as a sign up for your newsletter or a purchase. And you can use these reports to see all of your different how all of the different channels are connecting and how they're working together to create sales. Ultimately, that's what you want, right? You want all your different channels, your website, even if it's just one website, or if you have a different Shopify or different Facebook or different Google My Business, what you want is all these different channels giving you information and driving traffic to your online store, your in-person store, your blog, or the project that you're working on. So as you saw earlier on my dashboard, the real time shows the impact efforts in real time. Immediately, as we mentioned, you want to monitor these on a daily basis, right? Because what I've learned is that in business, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's shared workspace or real estate, if a person is looking for you online, they're looking for you now. And if they're clicking, sending you a message, it's like the first to market has the advantage, right? The first person to respond is going to have that advantage because it's showing that you're engaged with your business, that you're on top of it, that you're passionate and interested in meeting that consumer's question. Or so now that we're talking about questions, do we have any questions that we should answer now?
Actually, there are a couple, although we do need to allow Lon to have some time as well. So let me just ask you the quick question that had come up, and then we'll need to shift over to Lon. Obviously, a lot of really good information from Google. It's hard to compress all of that into a tiny little spot. The one question, obviously Google Analytics is really good at handling the website element. Does it also link with Yelp or Facebook information as well, or is it really in the website realm?
So, for example, you can create those different assets that we were talking about earlier, right? And then those widgets you can include on those different pages. So let's say for example you have a Facebook, like you said, you have maybe a Shopify, or you have a newsletter. These different widgets and assets you can embed in your site so that then they're tracking the data and they'll feed into your dashboard. But that's what it's all about when we're talking about like assets and widgets.
Okay, so it can be done. That's good to know. I'm not sure we have time to actually work through an example of that,
Right.
but I think that's exciting to know that it isn't just in one realm, but it's also in others as well. Pedro, I'm going to ask if you could. You had mentioned a brief summary of this information. There's a lot of interest in being able to follow what you had provided. If you are in a position to, while Lon is speaking, if you are able to email that to me or provide a link, that would be fabulous. And with that, thank you so much, Pedro, for all that great information. And I'll ask Lon to take over.
Yes. I think I've stopped sharing, right?
I'm still seeing your screen.
Okay. Can you click on present now, Lon?
I cannot start screen while another participant is sharing.
Okay, stop share.
There we go.
Yeah. Alrighty, coming right along. So indeed, I wanted to now position the next topic about customers' trust after Pedro's talk, because you can see the amount of data and the richness of the data can be so comprehensive. So you can then understand the customers from their perspective, how important it is that the business can retain their trust, can share with them that indeed the business practices and everything are trustworthy. Now, before I dive into this portion, however, we wanted to be as interactive as possible, and so earlier we did design 2 polls so that we can understand the backgrounds of the businesses. So let me invite our administrator to pull up the poll. Do Do I need to get out of sharing, Des?
I don't think you do. So let me encourage you to continue because we're at about 8 minutes prior to the end of the webinar. So let me encourage you to continue working on that. I will also communicate with Mirza about the poll as possible.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we all know, just to put ourselves in the customer's shoes, right? When you don't trust the store, you probably don't want to do business with them because your sensitive information will be all digitally maintained, different from a physical store. When the transaction happened, then it's just a one-time thing. But in the online world, such data can be stored forever and ever. So you want to be cautious about that. And to maintain customers' trust, a couple of elements. One is the return policy. 66% per UPS survey of people, they actually, before they place the order, they check the return policy. And can you blame them? And especially now with online ordering, making things so much easier, and people cannot try on clothes, for example. So before they buy it, therefore, the return policy needs to be in place to bring that trust and confidence before the clicking. Second is that you want to have responsive services. Again, this seems to be pretty intuitive. If you are on someone's site and the site itself is slow in coming, takes a whole minute to load, you probably are long gone. And the mobile site we mentioned earlier, people are on the go more than ever. So you want that feature to be on. Especially if your businesses is in selling consumer products. Some businesses, if they are more in the alliance with partners, so they may not rely on mobile site as much. Right, so all of this potentially can be super critical or are nice to have depending on your business model. The third one is a chatbot. Interestingly, earlier, there was a question about chat. So my gut feeling is that give it a try, especially when there's a free trial available. See how your audience responds to it. And big data recommendation. So yeah, like Pedro mentioned, there is richness, there is data is the new oil, as people say. So you can garner a lot of actions to make you more than ever connected more intimately with your customers. And then social media comments, also at rating services, pay attention, say Google, or if you're on Yelp, pay attention to those ratings and chime in if there is an unsatisfied customer and just sincerely patch up if possible. Those will go a long way. And AI prediction, now with all sorts of data all converging together, you can do so much. There's a saying that AI is so smart, even smarter than ourselves, human beings. It can predict what you want to do next because we are creators of habits and they know better than we about our habits. So that definitely is a thing that's coming in the next couple of years. So you can utilize all of this technologies to help you. But as a small business, I think some of them, like the AI prediction, we don't have to worry about for now. Just something to keep in the back burner or in the back of your mind. All right, now on to privacy. So we are lucky as residents in California, we are, as consumers, we're better protected than the rest of the country. As you know, in 2018, we have the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, reaching into law. And it basically specifies the right we have as consumers, the right to know. The PII means personally identifiable information. So your physical address, your social security number, your thumb or fingerprints, your retina, and your bank information, of course, together with your names. So some information on their own is not PII, but combined with some other data elements, it becomes PII. So anyway, the website I have over here will take you to a website that's pretty easy to go through. It's like a Q&A style. So read it up. The right to delete, if someone wants to be removed from your website, you need to do that per the law, and give the people the right to opt out of your subscription, for example. So when you send out email campaigns, you always want to have that opt-out message, unsubscribe, as part of your campaign. The right to also non-discrimination in handling CCPA. And the next thing may bring some of us some relief. So CCPA applies to certain businesses, not everyone. For example, nonprofits, it's not applicable to them. And businesses with less than $25 million gross annual revenue, also CCPA does not apply to them. But all of this being said, can you imagine that even though CCPA doesn't apply to your business, but you are perceived as not taking care of customers' privacy? So how does that tell the customers when they come to buy from your website, right, to share their personal information on your website? Probably still not going very well. So I always go by just applying the strictest law, even if it doesn't apply to me. So this way you will harvest or garner the trust of your customers. So a little bit quick exercise. How do you email a group without leaking emails to them? Anyone knows? There's an easy, so a lot of times the features and functionalities are always there, but it takes our awareness to be able to utilize them. So in this case, it's a BCC. Basically, it's the emailing people without their email address being shown as a recipient. So it's the BCC. It is available to all the email providers. So you just need to get it out into use. Second one is, when you're online, how do you protect against the browser collecting your information? Some people may say, hey, I use the incognito mode. Even that does not give you full control. So there are ways, for example, go DuckDuckGo. How did I say it right? I can't say the names. Yeah. Towards the end of the day. So that's one way. Another way, Brave extension. So if you use the Google Chrome browser, you can use Brave extension to protect your privacy better. All right, so I'm trying to also go a little bit faster so we don't delay ourselves completing this. The next topic is about protecting from cybersecurity risks. So some people may say, hey, privacy, cybersecurity, what gives? Why so many different words? One way to consider is, say, the house, having a lock to protect it. So we all know. So it's a set of understanding and rules. So that is kind of rules that people go by, right? So that's the privacy. And in terms of protecting, having a lock to protect your house, that's one tangible way to protect the house, so that no passerby can see that, oh, this house is not protected, I'll just wander in. So that's what it is, right? With passwords, for example, and you, without protection of passwords, strong passwords, then some other people, even if they don't intend to bring you harm, but they happen to be wandering around and then they get in, and then it's not good for the confidence of your customers that it's so easily open to the outside world without any protection. Because there are a lot of cyber criminals who actively exploit such vulnerabilities. So we're going to do some exercise, but I'm going to skip this. So this terms phishing, social engineering, ransomware, especially nowadays, and supply chain, which recently caused a big headache for federal government agencies because of the SolarWinds exploitation. It's a one company, SolarWinds, getting breached by cyber criminals, and they utilize the credentials to exploit SolarWinds customers. That includes many of the federal level government agencies. So it's a big headache. And for us as small businesses, we also have our suppliers, we have our vendors. So all of them needed to also be protected. So when you do business with them, you wanted to make sure that they have a decent cybersecurity posture besides yourself. And some outcomes, or credit card fraud, we all know. Physical ones include the gas station, for example. Some of the machines may be compromised, and even the bank ATM machines could be compromised with cameras. That's very sneaky. You can, if you don't pay attention, you won't even notice, and then your passwords are easily captured by them. They can go and reproduce your debit cards, for example, and then just take money out without your knowing, etc. So I don't mean to just frighten anyone with such. It's no news to anyone anyway. But the important message is that all of those are manageable risks. It's not like the sky is falling. No, reasonable protections in place, you can protect from them.
Lon, can I suggest that one of the final pieces of your presentation is really to make sure that people understand the additional offer in addition to these. So if you're in a position to do so, it'd be great to touch on these things very briefly, and then make sure that you're getting to the additional pieces, including the accelerator that you had indicated that you would provide information on before we wrap up.
Yeah, very true. Thank you, Des. Also, this information, a deck can be shared afterwards, and the links are all clickable afterwards. So I'm going to go skipping this one and dive into the free resources, even for cybersecurity protection. A lot of this is freely available. For example, multi-factor authentication. The Google Authenticator is pretty good to use. And password manager, so no person's brains can remember, so many passwords we need nowadays. So you wanted to use a password manager to help you. So you only remember one, and then the manager can remember all your rest of passwords. I'm going to skip ahead to the accelerator, as Des mentioned. Not this one. So coming back to this accelerator, which is a free to small businesses once you are accepted into it. The initial application is just 4 minutes or even shorter that you can fill out a form on this website. And after that point, the accelerator will start, and we intend to continue. Each program will run for 4 weeks, and so on a continual basis, we can continue to run more such accelerator programs. So the sign up now, I'm going to click on it, and this is the form you see. And it is offered jointly with partners. As we know, one person, one organization can only do this much, but together we can get so much more accomplished. One other thing I want to mention is that this accelerator program is not just out of thin air. It actually is was done before in the summer of 2020, and we have examples where the customers got very satisfactory outcomes. In the pilot e-commerce, one customer already generated in 4 weeks' time, they generated over $1,000 revenue. And that, I believe, covers it all. And maybe one last thing to mention is that once you are accepted into the program, you will spend about 4 hours time to work with the team. And the team understands your requirements, your business, and finds the best approaches for your online e-commerce, and then they will implement it. You can watch them implement it, and then at the end, they will hand everything over to you securely, and you get that training from that 1 hour, then voila, your online business is launched. And in subsequent weeks, if you run into questions, the team will be there to help answer. So this way, it's the best way we know of to help our own small business community. So with that, Des, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. This is really exciting. It's really clear from both you and Pedro's presentations just how much you feel strongly about this information, and it's also exciting to hear the kinds of things that are possible, and the fact that one can do this affordably, I think, is really really good as well. I'm just gonna, before we wrap up, I did want to encourage you to also think about another program that's available through Work to Future, and we'll send out some additional links to the group. But the program that's available is Facebook and the Work to Future have teamed up in order to be able to provide small businesses with, 50 small businesses with a Facebook trained intern for this summer. I want to encourage you to think about that. If you're moving in the direction of doing digital elements, you really want to increase your visibility, that may be worth doing. So I've included that in the chat. We'll also follow up with some additional information. I know that, unfortunately, Pedro has dropped off of the presentation, but I know that there was interest in having the information that he'd mentioned in terms of having a short summary of his presentation, and we will make that available. And also this webinar has been recorded, and we'll make sure that the information about the link is provided to you as well. Although that may take us a little while to finalize, so bear with us as we do that. The one last thing is that after the webinar is over, you'll receive a brief survey asking for additional information about what your experience was like, what kinds of webinars you'd like to see in the future. We're really eager to be able to make this a useful tool for you guys. Clearly Lon and Pedro have a lot of information to be able to offer. Again, this information is free, and that's really good given the current situation, an opportunity to help your business thrive despite the pandemic. So thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to seeing you potentially as early as next week. So thank you very much for attending the event, and we'll send you some additional information shortly. Thank you very much. Bye.